Hello, APUSH people. So, these next part 1 and part 2 of this video is interesting because we are looking at the Enlightenment and the Great Awakening. And you guys really don't understand these topics until you get to APUSH or college. They are sometimes addressed in elementary or middle school, but the root understanding of these concepts aren't understood until way later. So, as always, you can pull up this outline either by going to Google Classroom or apstudynotes.org and look for APUSH study outlines. It looks like this if you go on your phone, which I am doing today. So, I'm gonna do part 1 based on the Enlightenment and part 2 based on the Great Awakening, so you guys know how I'm splitting it up. So let's start. The Enlightenment. The first Puritans who settled in New England brought with them a passion and conviction in their religious beliefs. Many also believed in the reality and efficiency of magic. Especially in New England, the culture of wonders were rooted in providentialism, a belief that God governs the world at each moment through His will, and that all events occur as part of His ordained plan. Providentialism provides that one can best understand the natural world as the organic expression of God's desire. So that is how they believe God is put in control of how this system operates, and it is only through God's desire that the system operates in that way. Subsequent generations of settlers remained tied to the church, but their piety weakened over time, so their beliefs weakened over time. As settlers turned their focus to the profitability and day-to-day management of their settlements, the number of conversions or testimonials of God's grace, which gave them the right to join the church's elite, deceased. So as they began to work and make a living and do all that stuff, their mission for God, their testimonials for God almost disappeared. In an effort to reverse this trend, Puritan ministers developed a halfway covenant in 1662. This declaration allowed for a new category of members who were converted but did not have full communion rights. In addition, this covenant allowed children of the condemned to have church membership even if they had not been baptized. This partial church membership led to greater religious participation, but at the same time weakened the purity of religion. As members of the church's elite grew increasingly frustrated and concerned about the effects of the halfway covenant, these tensions spilled over into the events that would come to be known as the Salem witch trial. As concerns about religious purity were at the principal pinnacle, members of struggling rural families began to accuse their more successful counterparts of witchcraft. Although primary women were accused, some men fell under the shadow of suspicion. Some of the accused received trials in 1691 and 1692. Many others did not, and suspected witches were often burned at the stake, hanged, or drowned. The hysteria finally ended in 1693 when the governor's wife was accused of witchcraft. The governor intervened, prohibiting further trials and pardoning those who had already been convicted, even pardoning some people posthumously. Facilitating the governor's declarations was a challenging mindset among the New England population that encouraged more radical thinking as the Enlightenment spread from Europe to America. So what do we see here? The people who are following the rules of this Puritan religion was often accused of being a witch of some kind and practicing witchcraft because they did not agree with these measures, with these religious doctrines. So this ended up to be the Salem witch trials, and this went on for a couple of years, and then the governor shut it down. And after he shut it down, this time period of enlightenment spread, that started mainly in Europe, spread to the Americas. The Enlightenment, also called the Age of Reason, is described by scholars as a method of thinking and knowing, based on the presumption that the natural world is best understood through the use of close observation by the human faculties, coupled with a reliance on reason. Intellectuals began to see the universe as an ordered creation, a place of balance and order, which promoted the mathematical revolution found in poetry, music, art, and architecture from the period. Observation and reason began to supplement revelation. Reliance on tradition or traditional authority, and inward illumination as the dominant means for acquiring knowledge. So this time period was known as the Age of Reason, to combat all of the ideas in people's mind, not all of the non-religious ideas in people's head. The Enlightenment in Anglo-America was greatly influenced by two revolutionary English thinkers, John Locke and Sir Isaac Newton. We both heard those names before. So they are incredibly important. Newton published his theories on gravity in Principia in 1697 and defined a set of laws that govern nature. Few colonists read Locke and Newton directly, but popularized versions of their theories had a great impact. Colonists followed European developments with great interest in an effect to emulate and adapt them to the American environment. The Enlightenment had a profound effect on religion. Many Christians found the enlightened view of the world consistent with Christian beliefs, and used this rational thinking as support for the existence and benevolence of God. Preachers incorporated the vocabulary of reason and natural law into their sermons to explain how God works through natural causes without giving up their postulates that He is the first cause of everything. So not giving up their beliefs were important. However, the Enlightenment led other Protestants in a very different direction. More liberal Congregationalists, as well as Anglicans, denounced traditional doctrines about the nature of God, arguing that He was a benevolent rather than arbitrary deity. They also disputed the divinity of Christ. Some began to think He was entirely human in the process of salvation, arguing that God saves sinners because He predestines them to grace, but because He foresees the good work they will perform through their own volition. These positions fostered Anglicans' complacency that the world was ordered in the best possible way, and generated liberal distaste for the spiritual frenzies of religious enthusiasm. So, what we see is a big argument based on religion during these Enlightenment eras, during these Enlightenment principles. Another outcome of the Enlightenment was deism, a belief held by some individuals that God functioned as a clockmaker, creating the universe and then stepping back to watch His creation function. Over time, this theory came to be known as the ghost in the machine, rejecting most commonly accepted beliefs of Christianity. Great thinkers of the Enlightenment, including Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and Thomas Paine, adopted deistic beliefs. So deism played another role in this in this Enlightenment thinking. Deism, basically what they said, God created Earth and then stepped back to watch Earth function. In the colonies, the Enlightenment was embraced by influential colonials who were intent on keeping up with the Europeans' advancements. Among those responsible for the spread of the Enlightenment of America was Professor John Winthrop, the longtime governor of Connecticut and a member of the Royal Society of London. His cousin, also of the same name and also a professor, brought calculus to the colonies. In Philadelphia, self-taught scientist David Rittenhouse built the first telescope in America, while fellow Philadelphian John Bartram made a lifetime study of American plant life. Both Americans and Europeans identified Benjamin Franklin as exemplary of the Age of Enlightenment. In the course of his life, Franklin owned a printing press, published Poor Richard's Almanac, which he filled with his colorful maxims, founded a fire company and a library, and helped start a debating club. As a self-made scientist, Franklin published valuable theories on electricity, medicine, physics, and astronomy. He is also credited with several inventions, including the lightning rod, a glass harmonica, and the Franklin stove. The Enlightenment also had an impact on education. Franklin helped found the College of Philadelphia, which later became the University of Philadelphia. At the same time, a spate of other learning institutions arose, including the College of New Jersey, College of Philadelphia, King's, Queen's, Brown's, and Dartmouth. Through these colleges primarily focused remained to train ministers, the Enlightenment opened up education beyond that single purpose. The focus on education led to the establishment of public libraries and an increasing amount of social activism. So this was the basis of colleges in America. And that is why you see colleges leaning left in some cases, even in modern America. Because it had its root in social activism. The Enlightenment's influence on 18th century America was profound. Advances in science and the arts, along with increased religious freedom, carried over into modern society. Furthermore, the focus on balance and order set the groundwork for an American governing system that included a balance of power. Because John Locke was famous in influencing the writing of our Declaration of Independence. And Isaac Newton, as you know, studied our basic laws of gravity. So those two big people in this Enlightenment period showed great potential to American history. See you guys in part 2 of this video when we talk about the Great Awakening.